Story 1, The White Mask of Kabukicho. Tokyo. A city where the future pulses through neon veins, where time never sleeps and secrets fester in the shadows. Among its many districts, none is more alive, and more feared, than Kabukicho, the red light district of Shinjuku. Here, among the host clubs, late-night ramen stands, and back-alley karaoke dens, urban legends thrive like ghosts behind frosted glass. One such legend has whispered through Tokyo's nightlife for decades. Locals call her Shiroi Men, the White Mask. She appears only after midnight. Alone. Silent. And always watching. In 2009, Naomi Fukuda, a 22-year-old university student from Osaka, moved to Tokyo for an internship at a fashion magazine. Bright-eyed and ambitious, she rented a tiny apartment near Shinokubo, just 2 stations from Kabukicho. Her roommate, Aiko, warned her, "Don't stay out too late in Kabukicho. Especially if you see a woman in a white kimono. If she wears a mask, turn around. Don't look back." Naomi laughed it off. She was rational. A journalism student. Urban legends were for bored housewives and middle schoolers. Or so she thought. One rainy Friday night, Naomi stayed late to help photograph a new line of avant-garde streetwear. The team wrapped around midnight, and she decided to walk home through Kabukicho, umbrella in hand, boots splashing in shallow puddles. As she passed a closed hostess bar, she noticed something strange. A woman stood perfectly still at the end of the alley. Pale. Motionless. Her face hidden behind a traditional no mask, a white expressionless face with red lips and slanted eyes. Her white kimono seemed to glow faintly under the flickering street lamp. Naomi hesitated. The woman wasn't moving. She wasn't even blinking. "Probably a drunk performer," Naomi whispered, shaking off the chill. But as she passed, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, "Don't look at her." Her heart froze. She turned. The alley was empty. Over the next few days, strange things began happening. Naomi heard soft tapping on the window at night, even though her apartment was on the 5th floor. Once, while brushing her teeth, she glimpsed the outline of a white figure behind her in the fogged bathroom mirror, but when she wiped the steam away, no one was there. Aiko noticed her friend growing pale, distracted. "You saw her, didn't you?" she asked one evening. Naomi blinked. "Who?" "The mask woman." Aiko explained the full legend. The white mask was a cursed soul. Some said she was a murdered geisha, others a scorned lover who drowned herself in the Kanda River. She appears to women walking alone after midnight, especially those who ignore warnings. If you make eye contact, she attaches herself to you. First the dreams start. Then the tapping. Then, she asks you a question. A week later, Naomi began waking in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat. In her dreams, the masked woman stood at the foot of her bed, whispering in a language Naomi couldn't understand. But it wasn't Japanese. It wasn't human. Then came the question. Naomi didn't remember hearing it, only the feeling it left, dread. It echoed in her chest long after she awoke, like a riddle she was never meant to solve. One night, unable to sleep, she decided to confront the fear. She took the same route through Kabukicho, at the same time. Past the same bar. Past the same alley. And there she was, the white mask. Standing still. Just as before. This time, Naomi didn't look away. The woman stepped forward. She reached up and slowly removed her mask. Beneath it was not a face, but a void. A pulsing black emptiness, like the mouth of a tunnel that went on forever. Naomi screamed. And woke up in her bed. Or so she thought. Because when she turned, Aiko wasn't there. Her apartment was empty. The city outside was silent. Then the voice came. Right behind her ear. Will you take my place? 3 days passed before Naomi's co-workers reported her missing. Her apartment was untouched. Phone left charging. A cup of cold tea on the table. The door had been locked from the inside. Police found no signs of struggle. Just one thing stood out. On her mirror, written in red lipstick, were 4 kanji characters: once you see her face, it's over. Aiko left the city 2 weeks later and refused to speak to any media. But in a rare blog post years later, she wrote, "I still see Naomi sometimes. In crowds. On train platforms. Watching me. But her face is gone. She wears a mask now." Even today, in the backstreets of Kabuki-cho, bartenders, taxi drivers, and night workers whisper about the masked woman. In 2017, security footage from a closed karaoke lounge showed a woman in a white kimono walking alone at 3:14 a.m. She stood facing the wall for 9 minutes before vanishing from the frame, without ever walking away. The footage went viral before being mysteriously taken down. Some say she's a tulpa, a thought form brought to life by fear and repetition. Others claim she's real, bound to the city by an ancient curse. But the most chilling stories come from those who vanish. In nearly every case, friends report the same signs: tapping on the windows, silent phone calls at 3 a.m., a woman in white, watching from a distance. And sometimes, a single text, "Will you take my place?" Tokyo moves fast. The city swallows memories, paves over hauntings with LED signs and fashion boutiques. But some things don't fade. If you're ever alone in Kabuki-cho after midnight, and you see a woman standing silently beneath a streetlight, wearing a white mask, do not look at her. Do not follow her. And if she asks you the question, don't answer. Because once you do, you're hers. Story 2: The Whispering Tomb of Delhi. Delhi, India, a city layered in centuries. Mughal forts, British colonial bungalows, and ancient ruins lie side by side, each whispering their own stories. But beneath the bustle of autos, street vendors, and historic tours, deeper things sleep. In Murali, near the edge of the forested ridge, stands an obscure monument few dare to visit after dark, Bhutan Ka Maqbara, the Tomb of Ghosts. Historians dismiss it as local superstition. But locals, they whisper about the sealed chamber, hidden within its crumbling structure. A door no one has opened for centuries. A door that whispers back. In 2016, Devika Rao, a 24-year-old archaeology graduate from Chennai, was selected for a prestigious internship at the Archaeological Survey of India. Enthusiastic and skeptical of ghost stories, she jumped at the chance to document lesser-known monuments in Delhi. One of her assignments led her to the overgrown paths of Murali. That's where she first saw it, a small sandstone tomb half-eaten by vines. No official plaque. No recorded history. Just a rusted gate and a stone dome darkened by time. Locals refused to speak about it. One old chai vendor muttered only one thing: it was sealed by the mullahs. Because something answered when they prayed. Devika was intrigued. Inside the tomb was a single prayer hall and a stairwell leading downward, bricked up with centuries-old mortar. Faint carvings on the wall read, Ya la ilaha. Fazmana, a corrupted phrase, blending Arabic with Persian. Roughly, "O God, it hears us." Unable to find any documentation, Devika returned alone at dusk with a flashlight and her notebook. She set up her recorder, scanned the tomb walls, and began transcribing inscriptions. Hours passed. Shadows deepened. Her flashlight flickered. Then, she heard it. A voice. Faint. Male. Chanting in low tones from behind the sealed stairwell. She froze. She moved closer, pressing her ear to the ancient brick. The whispering grew louder. But it wasn't Arabic. Or Hindi. It was something older. Twisting syllables that echoed inside her skull more than her ears. She ran. Back at the hostel, she played the recorder. Static. Then, 3 words in a rasping voice, "Open the door." That night, Devika dreamt of a city that shouldn't exist. A ruined palace beneath red skies. Minarets bent at impossible angles. And at its heart, a tomb without end. Inside, blindfolded priests whispered in circles as a chained figure screamed without sound. She woke screaming. From that point, something changed in her. She began drawing strange symbols on her notes. Talking in her sleep. Once, her roommate caught her standing in the corner at 3 a.m., whispering back to the wall. The ASI pulled her from the assignment. But Devika refused to let it go. 2 months later, she returned to Marali on her own. At 2 a.m., she broke the padlock and stepped into the tomb with a crowbar, flashlight, and a camera. The footage recovered later, burned into police evidence logs, shows what happened next. Devika pried open part of the bricked-up stairwell. Dust and cold air gushed out. Beneath, a spiral staircase descended into darkness. She filmed herself descending. Each step accompanied by a new whisper. They grew louder, surrounding her, overlapping, like 1,000 mouths murmuring from the stones. At the bottom, a stone room with no windows. Carvings lined the walls, depictions of men bowing to a vast, eyeless figure, surrounded by flames. In the center of the chamber, a stone sarcophagus, lid shattered. Then the camera shook. Devika gasped and turned. From the shadows behind her, a voice emerged. "You answered." She was never seen again. Authorities found her camera days later, placed on the tomb's entrance steps. Inside the footage, the last minute is distorted. But one frame, paused at exactly 17:06, shows a figure behind Devika. 8 feet tall. Covered in ash and chains. Its face, hidden beneath a cloth soaked in black fluid. The tomb was resealed and removed from all ASI maps. The chai vendor. He vanished soon after giving an interview. And the whispers. Visitors still report hearing them if they stand by the gate after midnight. Not in any known language. But always the same rhythm, always the same intent. Calling. Delhi wears many masks. A city of sultans, soldiers, and shadows. But in its forgotten corners, older powers sleep. Ones that predate empires. Ones that do not forget. If you ever find yourself near Marali Ridge, and you come upon a tomb with no name, don't listen. Don't lean close. And whatever you do, do not answer. Because something beneath the stones is still whispering. And now, it knows your name. Story 3, the crying mirror of São Luís. On the northeastern coast of Brazil lies São Luís, a colonial city carved from cobblestone and secrets. Founded by the French, conquered by the Portuguese, and home to a complex blend of African, European, and indigenous traditions, the city pulses with stories passed between generations like heirlooms. But in the heart of the old city, past the tiled mansions and mossy courtyards, is a building that locals cross themselves before passing. Abandoned. Rotting. Its windows boarded. Its doors chained. And inside, they say, hangs o espelho que chora, the crying mirror. A mirror that doesn't reflect you, until it's too late. In 2018, a 29-year-old art conservator named Juliana Costa was sent by the Ministry of Culture to São Luís to oversee a series of restoration projects. One assignment stood out, an old mansion on Rua dos Afogados, the Street of the Drowned. Once owned by a Portuguese nobleman in the 1800s, the building had fallen into ruin. Its previous tenants left without explanation. The locals whispered it was cursed. Juliana, pragmatic and precise, dismissed the talk. Ghost stories were always louder in old cities. But the house unnerved her. The smell of damp stone and something sweeter, rot masked with perfume. The sound of footsteps behind hers, always just half a beat off. Then she found the mirror. Hidden behind a rotting velvet curtain in the main hall, it stood over 7 feet tall, set in a gilded Baroque frame, its surface darkened with age. Strangely, it didn't reflect anything. That night, Juliana stayed late cataloging the mirror's damage. When she looked into it, she noticed something impossible. Not her reflection, but a faint silhouette. A child, standing far behind her in the hallway. She turned. No one. She looked again. Gone. Brushing it off as fatigue, she packed her things. But the next morning, she found small wet footprints across the dusty wooden floor. The staff claimed they hadn't entered. Later, her assistant Daniel confessed, the mirror. I saw someone in it. A girl. Crying. But she wasn't facing us, she was facing the glass. Digging into city records, Juliana uncovered a tragic story. In 1891, the mansion belonged to a wealthy Portuguese merchant, Duarte Andrade. He had a young daughter named Clara, quiet, artistic, rarely seen in public. One summer, Clara disappeared. The official report said she drowned in a nearby bayou. But rumors told a different tale. That Clara had fallen ill. That she began talking to someone who wasn't there. That she would stare into the mansion's mirror for hours, whispering and laughing at nothing. Until, one day, her father found her inside the mirror. Eyes wide. Screaming, her breath fogging the glass from within. She vanished. And the mirror? Sealed and forgotten. Juliana couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, not in the room, but from the mirror itself. She began dreaming of endless hallways. Stone corridors with hundreds of mirrors, each reflecting not her, but different versions of her, crying, screaming, decaying. The child would appear, always at the far end, whispering, "Help me out." Then one night, Juliana stayed behind alone. Compelled. She uncovered the mirror again. This time, her reflection was gone. Instead, she saw a vast, empty version of the room. And in the center, Clara. Eyes black. Skin wet. Smiling. The glass began to fog. From the inside. Juliana reached out. And the surface rippled. The next morning, Workers found Juliana's camera on the floor. The footage begins normally. Then she moves toward the mirror. Pauses. Whispers, "I can hear her." She touches the glass. And vanishes. No cut. No fade. Just the camera tilting as if dropped. Her body was never found. But the mirror? It was different. Now, anyone who looks at it sees something else behind them. Sometimes Clara. Sometimes Juliana. Sometimes, themselves, but older. Crying. Screaming. Reaching toward the glass from the wrong side. The mansion was sealed. Yet stories continued, of strange reflections in car mirrors near Rua dos Afogados. Of a little girl's voice heard from bathroom mirrors. Of tears on glass that can't be explained. Mirrors are gateways. Not to the past. Not to another world. But to something deeper. A place that remembers every face that's ever looked into it. Every tear. Every scream. In São Luís, there's a mirror that never forgets. And if you look into it long enough, it doesn't show you the future. It becomes it.